enhancing the knowledge gained from slaveholding parents with the lessons they might have acquired by reading the Southern Rose, the Rosebud. Young white girls learn how to be efficient and effective mistresses. Such guidance equipped young white girls to teach enslaved people the skills necessary to be the kinds of servants that they would need later on. When Ellen Thomas and her mistress Cornelia Kimball were young girls, Kimball taught Thomas the arts of good housekeeping, including fine sewing. Her training also involved being blindfolded and then being told to go through the motions of serving, so that she could learn to do so without disturbing anything on the table. Nancy Thomas, no relation to Ellen, recalled that she was the special little girl for Mistress Harriet's daughter Polonia. Even during them days I would sew and knit, Nancy Thomas recalled. She went on, I had a little three-legged stool and I'd sit it between Polonia's legs, and while she was sitting down, then she'd watch me when I knitted. If I done something wrong, she'd pinch my ear a little and say, you dropped a stitch, Nanny.
As Ellen and Nancy Thomas's testimony shows,
Cornelia Kimball and Polonia Smith were mistresses in the making, responsible for overseeing the production of the enslaved girls they would come to own and disciplining them when they did not meet their requirements. It is important to note that young white Southerners, by virtue of their skin color, were empowered by law and custom to exercise control over any enslaved person they crossed paths with, even those they did not own. The landscape architect Frederick Law Olmsted published an account of his travels throughout the region that included an encounter he had with a Southern girl and an elderly enslaved man. I have seen a girl 12 years old in a district where in 10 miles the slave population was 50 to one of the free, stop an old man on the public road, demand to know where he was going and by what authority, order him to face about and return to his plantation, and enforce her command with a turbulent anger when he hesitated by threatening that she would have him well whipped if he did not instantly obey. The man quailed like a spaniel, and she instantly resumed the manner of a lovely child with me, no more apprehending that she had acted unbecomingly than that her character had been influenced by the slave's submission to a caprice of supremacy, no more conscious that she had increased the security of her life by strengthening the habit of the slave to the master race. Then is the sleeping seaman that he tightens his clutch of the rigging as the ship meets each new billow. When encountering enslaved people in this way, girls like the one Olmsted encountered learned important lessons about the power of whiteness and its pricelessness. White girls learn one lesson about the value set on different groups of human beings. Enslaved people learn quite another. The historian Dania Ramey Berry describes the ways enslaved children first learned about and reckoned with their bound and unfree status. She argued that the visual cues, including coffles, heading to auctions, the separation of kin and loved ones, and the slave auctions themselves quickly taught enslaved children where they stood in the Southern hierarchy. Although it might be deeply problematic and should be approached with some caution, some evidence does suggest that enslaved people sometimes develop caring and perhaps loving relationships with their young owners. But no matter how affectionate relations between white girls and enslaved people might have been, these young slave owners frequently articulated and exercised their power over their enslaved companions as mistresses in the making. Some girls and young women enthusiastically assumed their roles as mistresses early on in their daily interactions with enslaved people. Some also exhibited signs that they might evolve into brutal ones. A formerly enslaved woman recounted the cruelties that she suffered at the hands of all the white women in her household, but she dwelt in particular on her encounters with the meanest of her mistress's daughters. A young mistress, as she recalled, would whip her and then make her kiss the switch that she used to beat her. When parents gave their daughters enslaved people, those daughters assumed a new identity. They became slave owners. Over the course of their lives, they learned valuable lessons about the importance of property and how to be effective slave owners. They also learned how to determine when, if, and in what ways to allow other people to interfere with any aspect of their wealth in slaves.